Hello everyone, so today I'd like to make a video about really basic, like the most basic HTML you can have. So let's get started. So when you want to make a website, you have to know that like everything almost is made with HTML. So what is HTML? This is, if I remember, oops. So HTML, if we check here on Wikipedia, for example, of course it is in French. Let me put it in English. So this is hypertext markup language, and this is what makes your web page. So here you can even have like a little example, but we'll do it together. So I'm using Visual Studio Code, which is like a text editor that I like quite much, and you can download it for free. I will put probably the link in the description if you want. So okay, all you have to do here now is to open a folder, and here I have mine, WebDev Junior. I select this folder and I have already a subfolder inside that I call HTML, and inside we will create our first HTML page. So let's get started with new page, and let's call it index.html. Okay, so we have our first HTML page. So now, first things you have to do when you have a HTML page is to say to the text editor that it is HTML, or like the file has to be HTML. So you have to first put tags HTML like this. So with Visual Studio Code there is something really nice, is that when you first write HTML and then if you press tab, it already like knows that it is it guesses what you want to do. So just write HTML, for example, here. And then in an HTML tag, now we have our first HTML tags. The HTML is separated in two. The first is the head and the second is the body. So the head here is something that is not displayed in the border, or not that much. This is to put all your how to say, like metadata that help your website ranking, for example, or it helps also load some style, because HTML on the HTML page are like ugly. So here you can like load all your things. And then after the head we have the body, and in the body it's just the content of everything. Everything that you write in the body will be displayed. So for example, in the body we can write, for example, test, and nothing in the head. So now I save this page, this really simple HTML things, and now I will open it in my browser, for example. So this one, all you have to do when you have this HTML, it opens it with Chrome, for example, for me by default, and I just need to double click, and here I have my page with my test. So it's kind of cool. We already have our first page with only 1 minute. So you can see also that on top here in the tab I have index.html, and this is kind of ugly, so we want to change this. So the first thing you need to do that is to go in the head and write title. And in the title you write, for example, my first HTML page. You save with Ctrl S, you come back here, you refresh, and you can see that the tab on top has changed. So it's really simple HTML. Okay, so after the body there is different tags in HTML that are quite good and that you will use quite much. And the first are, for example, the titles. Like if you saw there that the test is written quite small, and HTML you can also put this header lines, and you have, I think, 7 or 8, I don't remember, starting from H1, and you can write like, this is a big title. So I save, I just refresh here, and poof, as you can see we have this H1 tag. And first with H2, this is a subtitle. Oops. So I save, refresh, and this is a little bit smaller. And then you have H3. Oops. Then you have H4. Then you have H5. Then you have H6. I think there is more, I'm not sure. So if I save, refresh, you can see that all of this changed. So this is header tags that are quite useful, especially if you do search engine optimization, because usually Google is looking quite well what is written in these H tags. For example, if you put some keywords there, like this is the title of your article, you probably rank better if you have all the keywords, interesting keywords for Google there. So okay, now we finished with the headers, and there is also another tag that is quite well used, especially in blogs and so on, which is a paragraph tag, and this is just a P. Oops, not like this, like this. And a paragraph is just these tags. This is a paragraph, and you just write it like this. If I now add a new paragraph, this is my second paragraph. Save, and that's it. So if at any times you want to check on your browser if everything is fine in your HTML page, you can right click and click inspect. Okay, I have it in French, but trust me, it's inspect. And here you'll see that it opens like some console here, or like inspector actually. And here you can see the source code of your page with the head, the title, body, and so on. And actually you can do that on any pages. For example, if we check on Wikipedia, I can right click, inspect, and here we can see a really complicated one, HTML. But as you could see, we have like H3, we have P, for example, where is H3? Look, still down, down, down. Yeah. So you can highlight things on your. Oh, now it's down. Okay. So when you have the cursor here, you can highlight everything you see on the page. So this is quite cool if you want to know, oh, what's wrong or something like this. So this is simply how to make pages, HTML pages. Okay, so after the P tag, as you can see on the Wikipedia page, there is sometimes these divs. And these divs are quite good. Okay, it's too far, I will not show you. But div is like just everybody use it like just as a box, so you just have to write div, sorry, and this is a div. I am like a box. So it looks like a paragraph, almost the same thing, but it's not totally the same. Then we have inputs, which is something really interesting. that a lot of people use, especially on website if you want to have, for example, login things, and it's just inputs. And then you have to write the type. Here, when I press tab with my Visual Studio Code, it already write it, because type is always necessary for input. And we have different types of input. The most basic one is just text. So if I save and refresh, and you can see here that we have a super easy input box. And here you can see I can write hello world. And this is quite cool. But there is better. There is also input checkbox, for example. Is just this. And checkbox usually has label. And to put label, usually we can make it in different ways. But the way I like it the most is to wrap the input in the label. So like this, for example. Oops. Okay, I just remade it like correctly, more or less. So if you have a label here, and then you start like, this is my label, and now I check, I can click on the checkbox, but I also can click, no, it does not work. It does not work. I thought that if I was clicking on the label, it would check the checkbox also, but it does not work like this. Probably if I have a name here, sometimes inputs has name. For example, I write checkbox, and in the label 4 I write checkbox also. Maybe it does work. No. So probably it's not name, but ID. Let's check this last. It does not. Yeah, it is. So for example, if you want to use a label for the input box, checkbox, sorry, you can use the 4, and then you have to write in your inputs the ID, and it has to match. Like for example, if I write here something, and here ID is the checkbox, for example, I guess it's not working. Yeah, but if in ID I rewrite something and refresh, now it's working. So this is really cool. So with checkbox we have also input radio, which looks almost the same but not exactly. So we can do the same, we can wrap it also in a label for radio 1. Okay, so here, as you understood, we need to write ID radio 1. Okay, and if we want to have a second radio button, okay, oops, I forgot to write here radio 1, and here radio 2. So now you can see that I copy paste the same piece of code, and the ID is the same for both radio inputs. It's not a big deal right now, but it's something to avoid as much as possible, because now, as you can see, like radio 1, this is for radio 1, and this one is also for radio 1, meaning that if I click also on radio 2, it is like checking radio 1. And this is not what we want. Here we want, when we click radio 2, we want to have the input radio, this one, to be checked. So here we have to change it. So for this label we will just write radio 2, and here again radio 2 for ID. And now if I click radio 2 I have radio 2, if I click radio 1 I have radio 1. So that's great. The only things with the radio buttons is usually that we want to check one or the other. We never want to check both of them together. This is the point of the checkbox. Checkbox you can check as much as you want, but radio usually you want to have them in a group. And to do that, I'll show you also one good website. Radio, if I check on Google, for example, radio button W3 school. So this website is quite well. You have all the references you need, and you have even more help. So let's go in radio. And you can see here, for example, in the input type radio, there is a name, gender. And if I put the same name, for example, I don't know, here in the two input I have, if name radio buttons, for example, and here the same. Now, when I refresh, I should click one or the other, but you can see that I cannot click both anymore, and this is exactly what we wanted. So it's fine. Okay, and this is like three basic things. Also, you have in basic things you have a text area, which is a little bit different from input box. Okay, here when I write text area with Visual Studio Code, I already have name, ID, calls, rows. So I will explain you what it is. So name we don't really need. You could see here how it is used for example for radio, but for text area it's not so used. And then we have ID. Let's put text area. And then we have these calls 30 and rows 10. So okay, let's put this by default, save and refresh. And here we have our text area. I'll show you also quickly something. For example, I don't like that everything is one after the other. It's a bit ugly and I don't understand. And to break the row with the with HTML, we just need to write the BR in tags like this. And if I do this, the checkbox goes on the next line. If I write another one like this, it will go again on another row. So here you can see that this text area is more or less rectangular, and we have actually 30 columns and 10 rows. For example, if I start writing, I can write 10. Okay, so this is 10 times. But if I continue writing, this text area is not growing up. I now have this scroll bar here, and this is cool. And also if I continue writing in that direction, there is actually here 30 characters. This is what this calls and rows means. For example, if I now calls like put 150 and rows I don't want only 3. I refresh, you can see that it's totally different. Maybe 150 is too much. Let's put 75. And here my text area is totally different. Also, you can notice on the bottom right this little thing here, and this helps you or helps your user to check it, and you can drag it to change the size. You cannot go smaller by default, but you can go bigger. And this is cool. If, for example, you are writing a long text, you want to expand it, this is how you do it. Okay, so this is the most basic input box, and then you have sometimes interesting ones that are usually, like for example, in input text. There is also some that are really nice, that looks a bit the same, but have different meaning. For example, if I write an input, but here it's not a text, I say it's an email. Here I have an input email. And here it does not do anything like this, because HTML by default is not so good. The only thing you can see is like if I stay longer, where is it now? Okay, here, okay, it's written in French, but I will translate for you. It's like, please include the at in the email address, and this at is missing in the text, actually, in Alexi, for example. And this is what it does. It kind of check if if the user is writing an email or not, and it's just check, for example, if you have this at in your text or not, and this is all. But this is a bit stupid with only HTML, but we'll see in another video how to add a framework or like template or like style to our HTML, that it can be really useful for the user to understand what is wrong or not. In the same way, you have also something really useful in that it is a type password. As you could see on many websites, if you want to write a password, when you write a password, it does not show it. If I write, for example, QWERTY here, it shows. But if I write QWERTY in a password input, you can see these little dots, and this is quite cool, because then you can hide your password from other people that are watching your computer. What else do we have? One that I like quite much, but is not supported by all browsers, is date. Refresh. Here I have dates, and Google Chrome has these things already. Like you have this calendar here, which is quite cool. You can select your months here, for example February. You can change the months. You can select whichever date, and you can see that it changed. Here we can erase, and here this little dot here means like today. So today we are 9th January, and it just selected. Okay. Now there is things a little bit more complicated, but that are like really useful, and this is the select tag. So name now we don't need because it's just the stupid HTML. So what select do? It's just when you want to select one option out of many. We saw before that we could use a radio button for that, but sometimes if you have like 20 radio button, it takes a lot of space on your page, and you don't want to see it like this. It's a bit ugly and pointless. So for that you use a select, and to build a select you need this first tag select, and then the options you want to put inside. So here I will write an option with a value, for example 0, and this is option 1. Then I will write another option with value, for example 1, and this is option 0. Sorry, 2. Oops. And then another option with value 2, for example, and option 3. I save, I refresh my page, and look at this. Now we have this little drop down box, and here I can select one or the other, and this is really cool. Okay, and now last things in HTML that I want to show you that are really useful, and I like quite much also, is table. So to build a table in HTML, it's just simple. You write table, the tag table, and then it's a little bit tricky to understand everything, but you have the table head first, which is like t head, and in the head usually you have the headers of your table, and then you have your t body like this. So let's first build the header of the table. So it needs one row. So to make a table row, it's just simple as tr. So we have our first row, and then inside the row we need a column. Or here we'll just write D, which is like a cell. Or actually you have two. You have td and th. The only difference, sorry, is that th is like another tag, so you can style it different later. So for example, here I write the ID, then I will make another column with th, I don't know, like a name for example, and that's it. And then in the t-body, in the same way, I will have a new row, tr again, and inside two cells, two td. So td first, for example, is #1, then the name will be Alex, this is my name. So here we have our t head, and then we separate with the t body, and we have the first row here, and then we can add the second row, tr, here td number 2, for example, and td name will be, I don't know, John. Oops. And now if I save, I have my table. It does not look much like a table, and to show it a little bit better, or like to show at least what it does, we can here in a table tag write border equal 1, like this. And if we do that, now we can see our table. So that's it for this first video of HTML. This is the real basics of HTML. With this you can already build your pages, and in the next video I think I will show how to use some CSS and make classes and these kind of things to style a little bit HTML.